Hello, my name is Sonali and I welcome you back to a new episode of Around the World, a program which focuses on enhancing your understanding of global affairs and geopolitics. Whenever we read or hear the news of international politics, we often hear the discussion of one thing. We go through this issue again and again. The issue is that China distributes a lot of loans to poor or developing countries. It traps the poor countries in its debt trap. China's debt has become such an aspect of international discourse that discussions on the plight of many countries remains incomplete without its mention. Actually, China is accused of distributing loans to poor countries on its own terms. It is alleged that these poor countries have to pay the price of these loans. More recently, when the economic crisis deepened in Sri Lanka and it eventually became a defaulter, it was alleged that Sri Lanka reached this situation only because of being trapped in China's debt trap. However, experts have different opinions about this, which we will mention further. There is so much talk of Chinese debt in international politics that it is being said that even European countries may have to bear the brunt of it. The reason for this is that China is investing in European countries as well. However, this investment is less in comparison to loans to the poorer countries. This is the reason why there is a lot of talk about loans given to poor countries. Today we will know why China gives so much loan to poor countries. We'll understand why people call Chinese debt exploitative. We'll explore all aspects, but first of all, let's understand why this issue has come up for discussion now. Actually, recently a 2-day Voice of Global South conference was organized. In this meeting, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar expressed concern for the countries of the Global South. The concern was over the uncertainty of these countries. According to him, after the COVID-19 pandemic, the world has exposed the danger of hyper-centralized globalization and the problem of fragile supply chains. That is, Jaishankar wanted to say that the world needs decentralization of globalization. Although he was saying this in the context of developing and poor countries so that these countries can get better opportunities. His reference was towards China, which has been accused of doing things as per its whims and fancies by trapping the poor countries in its debt trap. This discussion remained in full swing throughout the years that with an expansionist mindset, China is trapping the countries in its debt trap. This was further confirmed when our neighboring country Sri Lanka handed over its Hambantota port to China on a 99-year lease. Now you will say that this is just an example. Actually, there are many more examples and there are many arguments in its favor. According to a report, there are more than 40 low and middle income countries on which China's debt is equivalent to at least 10% of their total GDP. Some of these loans is not even officially recorded. There are some debts that the Chinese government has not given directly to those countries. These loans have been disbursed through government-owned companies or banks. Experts are of the view that in the last 10 years, in the matter of giving loans to middle-income and low-income countries, China has progressed 3 times. By 2020, China has given a loan of about $170 billion to all the countries. However, this is the data that is officially in front of people. In this way, China is the world's highest lending country. According to a report, 9 countries who have participated in the Belt and Road Initiative are trapped in the Chinese debt. These countries are Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Tajikistan, Djibouti, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Laos and Montenegro. 3 countries of South Asia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Maldives, have immense debt of China. We have already told you the matter of Hambantota of Sri Lanka. Now Pakistan is on the verge of bankruptcy and is again looking towards China. China is already eyeing Pakistan's Gwadar port. At the same time, China is already developing many projects in Maldives. These things show that in case of not repaying the debt, the debtors have to hand over their project to China or they will do so in future. But the opinion of experts is different in this matter. According to experts, it is not right to say that China trapped poor countries in its debt trap. Now see the example of Sri Lanka. Experts say that only 10% of Sri Lanka's total debt is from China, and that too has been given under Belt and Road Initiative. The biggest debt on Sri Lanka is that of Japan and Asian Development Bank. Experts also claim that in 2007-8, Sri Lanka had requested the US for financial assistance for Hambantota port. However, America refused. Only then did Sri Lanka move to China. Although Sri Lanka could take help from the World Bank, its rules are so strict that the poor countries are unable to fulfill its terms. However, many experts are of the view that this is a narrative spread by the Western countries that China is trapping low-income countries in its debt trap. Although it may be narrative of the Western countries, but there are certain aspects to it that prove Chinese debt as a debt trap. Actually, China's debt is more expensive than Western countries. China gives loans at a rate of 4%, which is almost equal to the commercial market rate. This rate is 4 times higher than the World Bank rate. While Western countries give time up to 28 years to repay the debt, China gives less than 10 years. These things definitely present China as a moneylender and makes its debts exploitative. Now it's time for the question: does China trap poor and developing countries in its debt trap? Give argument in favor of your answer. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.